And hello, everyone, and welcome back to part three and the finale of our preview of the Texas Senate primary. And this is kind of looking forward past the primary, looking towards the general election and what possible future awaits both parties uh, with the selections that they make. So, we're going to first talk about what I believe is the most likely scenario is that Ken Paxton wins the Republican nomination. I don't believe there's a scenario short of Trump endorsing Paxton in which Paxton wins the nomination outright on, as I'm recording this on Tuesday, in the first round of the primary. I just don't see that happening. But I also don't see a scenario in which Wesley Hunt finishes second. The polling just hasn't been there. There was a time at which it was possible when Wesley Hunt first jumped into this race that might have been a possibility that Cornyn finished third, but I don't see that now. The real question is going to come down to whether or not Paxton, the people that vote against Cornyn in the first round, all continue to say fuck off to him in the second round. I've always been of the belief, and Texas has proven this multiple times. The survival rate in Texas for incumbents who go to a runoff is tremendously bad. However, there is one huge notable example of it happening, and that is Ken Paxton. Ken Paxton faced a crowded primary in 2022 and went to a runoff with George P. Bush and romped his way to renomination. So it is possible, but that is incredibly rare. Uh, so I think Paxton becomes the GOP nominee. And that presents a host of problems for Republicans. So I want to show you something um, that I've got going on. So I do these spreadsheets for Senate elections, gubernatorial elections, and the like. And here is Texas. So as you can see, incumbent's the incumbent. He's in his fourth term. His margin of victory in 2020 was 9%. Let's go back to 2020. I want to show you something. Oh shit, that's the wrong one for 2020. I had the wrong shit pulled up there. All right. All right. Let's go out here. Get down to Texas. So Texas, Cornyn. His margin of victory in 2014 was 27%. Trump's margin of victory in 2016 over Clinton was 8%, and his margin of victory over Biden was 5%. All right, let's go back here. As you can see, Cornyn's margin of victory in 2020 is down to 9%. Trump's margin of victory in 2024 is back up to 13%. So Texas was getting closer, but then it got further out again. But here's the thing, I want to show you something. So this is the 2018 Texas Attorney General election. As you can see, 8.2 million votes were cast. This is the gubernatorial election, same year. 8.3 million. Huge drop off. And it occurs in 2022 as well. There's a drop off between the gubernatorial and attorney general election. Significant. Significant enough that Abbott wins by nearly 15%. Paxton wins by the hair on his chinny chin chin. Just like Theodore Cruz won by the hair on his chinny chin chin in that election as well. So, um, as you can see, Texas has the potential to be close, and Paxton is underperforms. Um, and I think that's a real likelihood if he's the nominee. Republicans will, instead of spending money on Operation Lobster Rescue in Maine, will have to do Operation Lone Star to save the Texas Senate seat. And, you know, the question then becomes, looking forward for Democrats, who is easier, who has the easier road? Is it Tallarico, who most, if you read online and read among the chattering class, most Democrats in D.C. believe that Tallarico is the better option. If you listen to some of the discourse online, uh, some Democratic activists believe that Jasmine Crockett is a better chance. And Crockett obviously has a huge and loyal following. And Tallarico has set the online world on fire with his viral, eloquence. But here's the cold hard truth, in my opinion. I don't buy this argument that there are tons of voters out there that are just one, um, not showing up because they've not been inspired. They're not showing up because they don't want to fucking vote. And second, I don't believe there's a lot of Republicans that are persuadable. There's a few, and you've got to win some of them to win in Texas. And Jasmine Crockett has already said that she has no message for them. Now, in the grand scheme of things, there's not a huge difference between where Jasmine Crockett and James Tallarico stand on the issues. They're both very liberal and would be much more liberal than most um, of a Democratic caucus in the Senate. I mean, they would. They would be very much in the mold of a John Ossoff or Raphael Warnock, who are much more liberal and progressive than people realize. They just see, oh, they're from Georgia. They must be swing, moderates. No, they're very progressive liberal Democrats. But um, it's style and substance. And Crockett is a firebrand. Tallarico is much more reserved. And, it is possible that Jasmine Crockett fires up that activist base, fires up that young vote to get out and vote. But here's the thing, that activist vote is going to get out in the 2026 election. They're going to vote. They're going to be there for Democrats. They will crawl over broken glass to vote in this election. I don't live in Texas. I live in Alabama. And I'm telling you, if I had to bounce a basketball through a minefield to vote in the midterms, you better damn well believe that I'm going to be the next LeBron James and Allen Iverson. I'm going to be dribbling in between my legs and spinning the ball on my finger. So I think that looking at Paxton as your nominee, if you're a Democrat looking at the Republicans and they're about to nominate Ken Paxton, the smart move, in my personal opinion, is to nominate Tallarico. However, I don't think that's going to occur. Looking at the polling and looking at how the discourse has gotten, I think that Crockett is going to win the nomination. And I think she's going to win it on Tuesday night. I don't think Mr. Hansen is going to get enough support to drive this to another round. I think it's going to be Crockett and it's going to be Paxton. And it's the election that none of us deserve, but we're going to get. And like I said, if Crockett is the nominee, I'm going to support her with full fire and full fury. However, I think Tallarico would be the better candidate. I think he would draw in more independent voters. And that's the key you're going to have to do in Texas. You're going to have to win those independents and win them by a large margin to be competitive. And that's where I think some of the disconnect exists. Not all of those independents are left of center voters. Not all of those are, people that support liberal policies. Some of them are libertarians. Some of them are crazy to the right. And nominating Crockett is not the message to send to them because she's very in your face with the progressive message, which is great. But she, in my opinion, um, if Paxton is the nominee, is not the candidate for the Democrat. I think it'd be better for Tallarico to be the um, the Democratic nominee. Who do I think wins that matchup between Paxton and Crockett? I think that in the end, it's probably Cornyn or not Cornyn, Paxton by a small percentage. Uh, Paxton's won statewide before. He's currently a statewide elected official. So I think Paxton would start slightly as the favorite, but he's got a shit ton of baggage. A shit ton of baggage. And this is the first time voters are going to have their say on Mr. Paxton since his impeachment. So we will see. We'll see. Tallarico and Paxton, I think Tallarico wins a small victory. I really do. I really think that Tallarico could beat Ken Paxton and be elected senator and break the cycle that has been going on since Lloyd Bentsen was last elected to the Senate in 1988. He could break that 36, then 37-year uh, stranglehold that Republicans have had on the United States Senate in Texas. No, shit, 38. Jesus Christ, I'm getting old. Um, but yeah, That that's what's going to occur. Um, yeah, I think that Tallarico could beat Paxton. Let's go look at the next door. But the more unlikely of the two scenarios, but um, it's a possibility. So let's say that Paxton and Corning go to the runoff as expected, and a jolt out of the blue comes, and Donald Trump endorses Cornyn, and that carries Cornyn over the finish line. And it sets up a general election of John Cornyn versus Jasmine Crockett. If this is a scenario, I feel much more comfortable with Jasmine Crockett as the nominee because Cornyn is going to win, but you can then run a candidate uh, that represents your values and your convictions with as much fire and fury as there is possible. And she takes it to John Cornyn. But in the end, John Cornyn wins. Um, Probably wins by 10 percentage points, maybe 15. Uh, Cornyn has a comfortable reelection. And the Republicans, instead of spending money on Operation Lone Star, put all their money in Operation Lobster and carry Susan Collins across the finish line. Or um, you have James Tallarico going up against Cornyn. In this scenario, I still think Cornyn wins. Uh, it's smaller uh, victory, probably on the order of Ted Cruz in 2018, winning by a couple percentage points. It's close, but everybody before Election Day knows how it's going to turn out, and that is Cornyn winning. But and Republicans spend some money in Texas and take their eye off the ball in Maine, but they still manage to keep the Texas Senate seat. Um, yeah. Um, if you take Texas off the map for Republicans and give that to the Democrats, oh boy, taking the Senate back looks a lot easier. And if you can take down Texas, there's other states you can take down too. So, my feeling at the moment is this. On Tuesday night, Texas Republicans are going to send John Cornyn and Ken Paxton to a runoff, and that in the eventual runoff, um, Ken Paxton is going to emerge as the Republican nominee. And on Tuesday night, Texas Democrats are going to nominate Jasmine Crockett. And that's going to set up a very vicious general election between two very feisty and opinionated candidates, uh, Ken Paxton and Jasmine Crockett. And I think that in the end, at the moment, I would favor slightly, um, Paxton. But stranger things have happened. And Jasmine Crockett excites um, the base, and she fires people up. Um, and she's going to be very hard hitting. So I could see a scenario in which Crockett wins, but it's everything has to go perfect for her, and things have to get uh really dire for that to occur. Trump would have to basically implode. But I think a Tallarico Paxton matchup, which I don't believe is the more likely of the two at the moment, um, is a much more feasible route to victory. And like I said, I donated to Colin Allred and I donated to James Tallarico when they both got in. And I believe that if I were a Texas Democrat, I would be voting for Tallarico. But if, as I expect, Jasmine Crockett is the nominee, um, I will support her with all my fervor and promote her all over the internet to achieve the goal of electing a Democrat to the Senate from the state of Texas and turn Texas blue. I may get on here and after the primary and talk about my opinion on blue Texas, turning Texas blue. Uh, but that is for another day and another time. Please comment on this, share it, give me constructive feedback. If you disagree with my opinion, please give me feedback. If you agree with it, give me feedback. Subscribe. This is free. I'm not. I will never charge for this Substack. This is something I do for fun. And the moment I start doing this for pay, is going to be a cold day in hell. So I will see you all soon. Stay safe out there, everyone.